Meeting to order.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have the minutes from July 13th. A quick second to review that. Motion on the minutes.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No meeting mail, no appointments. All right, so the first thing, FY23 final revenue and expenses.
I spoke with Nick today, and it's recorded the final numbers issued. Revenues were 2,006, and expenses were 1.725 mil, giving us a profit of $280,830 and certified 1.5 million in free cash.
So all in all, a good year for last year.
Great, yeah.
Any questions about last year at this point?
Nope.
So next we have the FY24 revenue. I see Dana handed that out. Looks like July beat both the forecast and last year's actuals.
Yes, very strong numbers this July, and that is with 2 maintenance Mondays included in that number as well. So exceptionally strong July this year. If I'll just announce it, July's forecast was 325,000, and we came in at 344. Last year we did 323, so it was a very aggressive forecast, and we beat it.
Hopefully that keeps up.
How's Augustine?
Through this midday today, we are up 8% on compared to last August. So it looks like if weather holds out, we'll beat last August number was 268,
Yeah.
and if everything holds up with weather, we should surpass that number as well.
And then we have the maintenance update. I know, Steve, you've been letting us know about the sprayer and its condition and the options for repair or replacing it.
Well, we can start with that, or we can go through the handout there. Basically, the sprayer has a the right wheel. Each rear tire on that machine has a hydraulic drive motor. We had some problems with the left rear tire a couple of years ago. We were able to fix that with a seal kit. The right rear tire, we started experiencing the same problems. Went with the seal kit initially. Because of the hydraulic pressure buildup and the motor leaking, it eventually pushed the fluid past the seal again, so the fluid's leaking out of the rim of the tire or leaking onto the rim of the tire and onto the ground. So we went to Smithco about getting replacement parts. Long and short of it is the total of the replacement parts needed to repair that would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $9,000. Right now we have one part. The other parts we can't get our hands on. And Norm spoke with Smithco, and their availability is projected to be 6 to 7 months out at the earliest on those parts, those additional parts that would be needed to repair that back tire. So I spoke with the head of the sprayer division there at Smithco about what he had available, what his recommendation was. He said he's got about 24 to 28 300-gallon sprayers on the production line waiting for the same part. It's that hydraulic motor that goes to the back tires on the machines. So his recommendation was that, I mean, you could order a 300-gallon, but he couldn't really give you an estimated date yet until he was started getting these parts and was able to complete construction of those units. They do have 2 500-gallon sprayers available. 500-gallon sprayer to 300-gallon sprayer would be outfitted exactly the same. The only difference being that obviously one carries 500 gallons, is a somewhat larger machine, is going to cost a little bit more. And the boom width is 20 feet as opposed to 18.5. He gave me he spoke with MTE because we have to go through them as they're the local distributor for Smithco. And he gave, after that discussion, I was given a quote on the price for a 500-gallon sprayer of $89,400, which is about a 32% discount off the normal price. That was taken into account given the situation we're in and the fact that they couldn't provide you with a 300-gallon replacement in a timely fashion. So I then spoke with Toro and I spoke with John Deere, and their response was, yeah, well, we can get you one, but it's anywhere from 12 to 18 months. And 300 gallons, neither John Deere nor Toro make a 500-gallon unit. So right now, our options are to, one, wait for parts and see if we can get the parts and replace them, not knowing whether or not the other tire is going to hold up. It is a 12-year-old machine. The second option would be to purchase 500-gallon sprayer, which could be delivered in MT said 1 to 2 weeks. Or the third option would be to order a 300-gallon sprayer and wait anywhere from, I would assume, 12 to 18 months for a delivery.
Steve, you said you had a hydraulic leak on the left side,
Yes.
and you rebuilt it with a...
We didn't rebuild it. We redid the seal kits. That has kept it from not leaking. That was more of an issue with the seal kits as opposed to the actual hydraulic motor. Initially, we thought the right rear was the same problem with the seals. We replaced the seals, and then 2 weeks later started leaking again. Called Smithco and spoke to their top technician, and he said, well, if it's to look through if it's pushing hydraulic fluid again after you replace the seals. He said it's likely that the pump is leaking, it's building up pressure, it's pushing through not only the seals but the brake pads and everything else. That's why the expense to repair it is so high, because you have to repair everything in that basically that hydraulic motor unit that drives the back tire.
But you have a hydraulic motor that's leaking.
Yes.
And they don't sell a kit to rebuild it?
They sell a kit to rebuild it. Smithco didn't recommend that you spend the money on the kit. He said the kits weren't really that reliable, and if you don't get them together exactly the way they need to go, they'll start leaking on you again. So he didn't recommend spending the money on the kit.
They can't factory rebuild it?
No, not Smithco doesn't build that hydraulic motor. That's a hydraulic motor that they get from another company or another supplier, and that's one of the reasons why it's taking so long to get them, is because even though Smithco is a rather large distributor of turf equipment, in the eyes of the company that makes the hydraulic motors, they're only a very small portion of their business. So Mr. Miller told me that what they told him is that once we get through supplying everybody else, our major purchasers with these units will be able to get something to you. And they said that right now looks like it's 45 to 50 weeks out.
Steve, how many sprayers do we have?
Right now, two. I mean, one's not working, the other's a John Deere.
One is working.
Yeah, the John Deere we've been using, if you remember, that was the one that we got revitalized over the winter. We're not getting exactly the output we want on it because they're trying to get their computer system adjusted to the type of nozzles we have, but it's working. As a matter of fact, we've been spraying with that. We've been spraying with that right along. Just now we're forced to use that on greens as well. So we had to. That's a 4-wheel drive machine, and at times it goes into 4-wheel drive basically on its own, which would leave skid marks across. If it does it on the green, it leaves skid marks across the green surface. So we had to disconnect the forward axle from the transmission, so therefore it's only in 2-wheel drive. So we've been able to use that. It's a 300 gallon tank with a maximum of 310 gallons. The Smithco is a 300 gallon tank with a maximum of 318. That's why they call it a 3180. I mean, if you fill it right up to the brim, that's where you could get it in there.
So actually, you could use that
Excuse me?
machine right now
Yeah, we're using it right now. Yeah.
until parts come in versus spending the 84,000.
Well, yeah, we could use it till the parts come in. I mean, my thought is, I don't really, and again, I'll say is, I don't think it behooves you to spend that much money on parts on a 12-year-old machine when it's livelihood in that respect. I mean, it's basically at the end of its livelihood. And we replaced one, we worked on the back rear tire hydraulic motor already. Now the right is to go, and now I don't see the continued value of that type of investment in that machine. It was nice to have 2 sprayers because we could get fairways finished. For example, we had to spray 1 tank yesterday, 3 tanks today, and we have to spray 2 on Monday. Unfortunately, the dollar spot that's on those fairways that's going to be growing over tomorrow and through the weekend, I can't do anything about because I just didn't have time to get out there with 1 machine to do it. But yeah, we could make it through the rest of the year with the 1 sprayer. Although if I was going to wait for something, I would put an order in for a new sprayer and wait for that, as opposed to wait for parts to put into $9,000 into a machine, not knowing whether or not it's going to last another 2 years, or whether or not it's going to cost me significantly during that time period.
What's the price on the 300 gallon?
300. I'm waiting for the quote. 300 gallon sprayer from Toro was the current quote was 75,000, but that's 12 months out. They're not going to give you a final price until 60 days prior to delivery. John Deere was just about in the same neighborhood. They had in the past held the price that you were quoted at the time you signed the purchase and sale agreement. The machine, which would be a copy of the other John Deere that we have, would be in and about that same cost as the Toro. John Deere doesn't have so much a problem with the spraying units themselves as it is getting the traction unit for the gators that it's mounted on. They just don't have enough to make sprayers with. So,
What's a lease?
excuse me.
A lease?
A lease? I didn't look into a lease on that particular piece of equipment because I haven't leased from MTE before, and I got the down price and I didn't look into leasing options. I think leasing options, I mean, basically, you're paying finance charges, and, you know, to look at the number of leases we have now and the monies that we're going to be spending in finance charges, you know, now, and, you know, the Fed keeps on raising interest rates, and those interest rates on the leases are gonna keep on going up as well, so.
To me, the machine, if this last one's lasted 12 years, if you expect 12 years out of a new one, I don't think we should lease something that we would keep for 12 years. Why, if we have the money to buy it, if that's where we're going to go?
Yeah,
Like,
I
leasing
I see no
something that
reason
we-
why a newer machine of the same make wouldn't last the same amount of time.
I can see leasing something that we know we're going to turn over every 4 or 5 years, but something that has a 12-year lifespan, why spend the interest on? Excuse me.
How old was the other one, Steve, again? I forgot.
What, the John Deere?
Yeah.
Well, the John Deere, the traction unit itself, or what's called the Gator,
Yeah.
is 2006, but it's got very few hours on it. The Gator's in fine shape. And like I said, the only problem with that in the past was kicking in the four-wheel drive by itself, and we eliminate that problem temporarily. When we go back to spraying green and tea embankments and other things, we're going to want to connect that back up, because it'll just slide off the embankments and won't hold. The tank itself, everything having to do with the spraying system is brand new. I mean, it's only been used for 4 or 5 months, and it works fine. It's just the little fine tuning part of it that we have to get down. But I would, and I don't see any major problems with that, with the spraying portion of that for several years now. I mean, I think that sprayer will last, I'd say 7, 8 years anyway, if it's taken care of properly. I mean, it's new pump, new tubing, new everything, new.
How often do we spray?
But depending on the particular area you spray greens, I don't like to put it out in terms of a calendar, but if you had to describe it that way, greens are every 2 weeks, tees are every 3 weeks, and fairways every 4 to 5. Sometimes that interval shrinks depending on pressure, sometimes it expands. It'll also change given what's on the golf schedule and how we can fit in. That was why it was
So
It's
that
about
machine,
beneficial.
180 hours a season.
Give or take. I mean, it takes 3 hours, from the time of loading to finishing spraying. It takes 2.5 hours to do greens and collars.
Well, those are your numbers.
Excuse me?
Those are your numbers.
What's that?
175 years, 175 hours a season.
From the hour?
Right.
Yeah. Well, it probably averages out that
Right,
way. I
right.
mean, it can change. I mean, with 2 machines, obviously, the hours on both of them are going to be reduced because you're using them in tandem, especially the fairways. 2 machines also gives you the opportunity to put liquid fertility products down on your fairways, where it's more difficult with a single machine, again, because it's a timing issue. Like tomorrow, I mean, we have an outing tomorrow at 9 o'clock, but I probably could have,
Well, it's going.
oh, yeah, rain, shine.
So that stops us from doing anything tomorrow, so then we have to wait till Monday. I don't want to be out there on the weekend spraying.
I'm concerned about the 500-gallon tank. We already had an accident with a 300-gallon machine tipping over.
Well, that slid off the backside of the third green.
Right.
Right.
This is for
That
fairways, right?
well, that could be used for a green. I changed the spraying approach to that. I mean, that was just because the water shifted in the back of the tank when I was coming around the corner. There wasn't much you could do, and that, I'll pass that off at 55% my fault, 45% the bloody architect who designed that bloody green. Because there's no way, you can't do anything to the back of that green. I mean, the four-wheel drive 4500 hardly holds the hill. So.
Put some training wheels on it.
But the 500-gallon tank, I mean, it's a bigger machine. It's got wider tires, so in some respects, it would be a more stable machine. in situations like that because the tire is a little bit wider. Therefore, the weight is distributed more evenly across the tires. That 500-gallon sprayer has a lighter footprint across a putting surface, tee surface, or what have you than a 300-gallon sprayer does because of the weight distribution through the tires. And it would, it would help you in the respect that you have the opportunity to limit the number of times you have to fill up. So you won't be coming all the way back to the shop and then going all the way back out again. Obviously, it would take a little bit longer to fill up, but then, you could spray, 500 gallons as opposed to 300, so you're spraying 1 2/3 tanks at one time as compared to one with the 300. But if the decision is to wait and see if, I could talk to Smithco, see if they've updated their availability. Last time I spoke to them was the end of last week with regard to the 3180s. And like I said, we could get by. It's not as convenient, and it's not as good as far as time and application is, but hopefully we'll, hate to say the bad word, but hopefully in 3 or 4 weeks we'll get one of those wonderful things called frost, and we can back off on some spraying and stuff. But if we don't, we're going to have to keep up with that frequency.
Anyone have any thoughts on which way they're leaning, if we should entertain
You're looking at it.
looking at the waiting for repairs?
You can get by with one for this year?
Yeah, I think we can get by for the remainder of the year with the one machine. If it wasn't, halfway through August, if we were May and June, then I'd question
Yeah.
I wouldn't question that we couldn't do it, because, let's face it, with the exception of 3 or 4 months this year, I've been doing it for the last 22.
Yeah, right.
It just means that I have to do a lot more running around, and for instance, today we have to be out there spraying the 3rd tank when play is sitting on the 15th tee waiting for us to get out of the way, which shouldn't happen. Technically, golfers are not supposed to be on the playing surface till the material dries on the leaf blade. So that's something that, we have to keep in mind in the future. But yes, I could get by with the remainder of the year with with the one machine.
So basically, we got a year and a half out before that machine shows up.
My one concern is, say we're able to get through this year, and then we think about it next year, is the supply timeline going to be any different? Right, so then if we talk about it in February or March, is it going to be 12 to 18 months from February or March at that point?
Well, that's what they say as far as, Toro, John Deere, and Smithco hasn't really given me timeline on the 300-gallon sprayer. But if that was the concern and the price, I spoke to my Toro rep and he said, if you want a sprayer, order it now. Because you're not, the longer you wait, that just adds to it.
And that's the one you canceled before.
Yeah, that's the one we canceled
Once we
before.
got to you.
Yeah.
Can't get us back in the queue.
I can ask, but as soon as you cancel, they push it off. They don't cancel that order. They just push the orders
Oh, you
up to the other
you
people.
go down the ladder.
If you're 5 people in line and you're number 5 and you canceled your machine, number 6 gets your machine.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah, okay.
it's not because they only produce so many a year, and in the past they would always keep up. But this whole supply chain garbage and all the rest of that stuff allowed the demand to surpass their productivity in a year, and outside of building another plant, which I don't think they're going to do, that's how they only make so many. So.
And back to the Smith code, that with the 45 weeks and the $9,000. hours.
Yeah,
It's got 2,500 hours on it.
yeah.
We get the parts in, will it be a total rebuild?
Yeah, it'll be the hydraulic motor, it'll be the, I'm not sure, the one part that we've already got in because we thought this was the leaking one, which is, I've got an invoice for about $3,000 on this particular part. I'm not quite sure what they call that, but we have that part, and there would be the braking system and the hydraulic motor. So it would be basically clearing everything out and putting everything new in.
So a total rebuild with a
Yeah.
machine that's got 2,500.
You'd have all winter to do it.
No, we don't
You
have
have
the
one.
part.
Huh? If you got the, if you ordered
If
the
you had the part,
If you have the parts.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, if we could have gotten the parts, we would have had it repaired and out in the field already.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they said that, how long a waiting time to get parts for that?
45 weeks, 6 to 7 months, right? If I do my math right.
Yeah, well,
Well,
it's
seven
about,
times four,
about 90, about $80,000 cheaper than buying a new machine. And, I mean,
No, at some point in the future, you're going to have to determine where in the replacement leg this particular type of piece of equipment fits.
It is gonna happen sooner or later, you're right.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
so you can,
But if we,
I mean,
Everything's sort of
you can
late,
spend,
right?
you can try to spend the repair money now, wait till you get the part and repair it, and then, wait 12 to 40, I mean, I don't know if the window for ordering these things is going to get any better. They can't tell you. It's rather discouraging to sit there and listen to them respond to your questions. Like, this has been going on now for 2 years. Is it going to get any better? They can't tell you. So,
my recommendation would get Toro back in the queue. You use the new one that has the John Deere
yeah,
and wait for the parts and get a rebuild, total rebuild of this one. And hopefully it will last another 4. You had 12 years, now you total rebuild.
yeah, but the only thing you remember that what you're rebuilding is the back rear tire, hydraulic motor, and braking system. You're not doing anything to the control valves which control the flow of material out through the booms. You're not doing anything with regards to the pump on the machine. We customarily, every 4 to 5 years, replace the hosing. Nozzles get replaced every year because material going through the nozzle affects the orifice size.
I would do that on a new machine also.
Huh?
It would do the same thing on a new machine.
Well, if you got a new machine, you're not dealing with actuating valves that are 12 years old. You're dealing with brand new ones. I'm saying the Raven control on the 33180, they don't make anymore. So if something were to go down with that, you'd have to buy a new control system, and to see if it would, Smithco went to a different control system for their sprayers because they don't make the Raven anymore. So there's just, repairing that back tire is repairing the tire, and the machine will still work, but that doesn't address any of the other issues that might be going wrong with that machine. So I wouldn't think that it would behoove us to try to extend that machine 3 or 4 years down the road. I think you're better off looking to replace that machine within 2 years anyway. And with the timeline they give you for ordering, that might be, ordering now might be the case.
Well, kind of what Ed was just saying, is get back in line with Toro and order the parts to fix this one at the same time, right? That way we can then limp through the amount of time until the new one would come in with the refurbishment of this one.
I mean, I can talk with Smithco about the availability of the 300, because their window, if everything worked out right and they got the hydraulic motors, I mean, they'd basically be getting them a little bit sooner than we would, because they have to ship it out to to MTE, and they would ship it to us, or Smithco would ship it directly to us and the bill would come to MTE. So their machines would probably be ready 2 to 3, I would say, a month after they've got those hydraulic motors. But then again, you're got to get your place in line.
That too.
Yeah, so.
So what are we gonna do?
What was your recommendation to order the parts to replace it, but as well get in line for the new machine at the same time, so we're not wasting time on the lead time? And that way, because with a new machine, we might not even have it for next year, but if we order the parts, we would have this machine for next year, hopefully. And then, if it does take 18 months, well, then it's the season after that, we'll have the new machine. And then the the current Smithco would be hopefully fixed to get you through next season.
What, out of curiosity, what's a trade-in with that? If once you fix it, and do they take them?
God only knows. They're going to take it because one of the, we may have time to talk about it later. I don't have any room to keep it. And it's not something that you can sell to the guy down the street.
Right,
So
right.
either they're going to give me something in trade, or
Right.
I'm just going to say, you know, fellas, do me a favor, take it to auction. If nobody wants it, then that's it.
Any other part of the town use it on the school things or anything for spraying it?
Oh.
No.
Spraying something at the school, good
I
luck.
don't know.
Go through all the records. No, it's not the type,
You know that.
somebody could use it,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, like I say.
it's an 18-foot boom, it's a 300-gallon tank, and, you know, unless you have, at 1.4 gallons per thousand, it sprays 215,000 square feet, which is about, you know, 4.5, you know, 4 acres, you know, a little bit more. Unless you have that area to spray, I mean, you're not gonna wanna do it. The only other person I can think of is sometimes there are companies out there who do spraying for you. I mean, when we had the problem with the Smithco, I called up a friend of mine, and he came out with his sprayer, and, you know, but that's a service that he provides.
Well, I think I go with Ed's theory, for sure. Get the parts, get in the queue. When the time comes, dump the other one. I mean, we got a year and a half at least. That's could go more. I don't think those things ever go less.
No.
So
Well, you know, I don't want to be pessimistic, but the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, unfortunately, some of the squeakier wheels have a lot more money than we do, and have a little bit more prestige, so they can push buttons at these places
They buy a lot.
a lot more. Yeah, they buy a lot more, so they have the option of pushing buttons a lot more. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, we'll give that a shot. We'll, you know, try to get the parts, and then we'll check with Toro, Smithco, and John Deere, and see if they can give us quotes and a timeline.
So we all set with that as the
Yeah.
plan for the sprayer?
you need to make a motion.
Want a motion? Yeah, why don't we just to formalize that, so I guess we're looking for a motion to order the replacement parts and get in line with the best of the 3 providers that Steve feels.
I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, might as well just go through the rest of your report, Steve.
Very quickly, we did last Tuesday, the 8th, we were able to complete deep tine aeration of the greens as well as the dry jet. We completed the dry jet on the 9th. Deep tine we were able to complete on the 8th. The fairway aeration, we had to stop after five holes on the 8th because the skies just opened up. We got 2 inches of rain in 45 minutes, and the fairways were all flooded, and I decided it would be best to let them drain, so they came back in the 9th, and they were able to finish with, you know, not interrupting significantly play, maybe on 2 holes on the backside. The one thing that did result from this that I was not expecting to the degree it happened is that because of all that rain, plus the deep tine that you're doing, plus the dry jet, which injects water into the ground to pull the sand into the ground, the greens were softer than I expected. We went out and we rolled them, and then the next day when we cut them, we had some scalping in some places because they were just so soft. And even now, I mean, I haven't turned on the water for 2 weeks, and the greens are still, I mean,
Wet.
water content is still damp.
Yeah.
So we've made some changes in the mowing equipment, which will compensate for that. But also, once we get back to top dressing, which I should be this coming Monday, top dressing and rolling, we should be able to work our way out of the scalping without too much of an issue. T-wise, we're in pretty good shape, with the exception of probably 5 holes where we experienced little insect and disease damage and heat-related damage. Actually, kind of the 3 things work together to give us some issues on the tees on the 4th, 5th, 6th, 10th, and 11th holes. I should say that the tees on the 4th hole and the 11th hole, the primary problem with those tees are the bloody trees. The ones that block the sun from the back 3 tees on the 4th hole, and the pine trees to the left of the cart path on 11, and the big oak tree behind the 11th tee, which doesn't permit any sun to get on there. And when it gets this humid and it gets this sticky, and the ground doesn't get a chance to dry out, your fungicides are less effective, and your diseases are just rampant. And you combine that with significant foot traffic on 2 of these holes, which are par 3s, and we end up with some issues. Nothing that we can't repair, though. And what we'll be doing is, starting in September, we vertical mowing and aerating, vertical mowing and overseeding. We're going to start that first week of September. I'm hoping that by then we get out of this sticky, muggy weather. The one tee that I did want to bring up, because I'm concerned about it, is our favorite hole, number 15, in that forward tee. That tee has just gotten beaten to you-know-what, because there's just too many people hitting off at 2,000 square feet. So I don't know what our plans are going to be moving forward, but we need to either go back to our existing tee and deal with the issues that might bring, or we need to enlarge that forward tee if we're going to continue to use it, because it's just not going to take there's nowhere to put the bloody tee box. I mean, it's just one big divot. And because it's so small, you can't repair the divots and then find a place to use so they recover, because there's no place to go.
Isn't that like on 6 too, right? 6 is,
Well, 6 is, again, you have, a 7,000 square foot tee, but you have 3 sets of tee markers on it,
right,
and it's surrounded by trees.
right.
So, I mean, even when the National Golf Foundation was here, we were sitting there discussing that hole, and, and I was sitting there with Tim and the other fella, and they both looked up at about the same time and said, "You see that big pine tree right
Yeah, I
there?
see that.
Say, cut that one down
Make another
and
box.
put another tee box on the other
T-box,
side."
yeah. That makes a
In
lot
that
of
area
sense.
where we,
Yeah,
we
right,
cleared
right.
it out. So now you can put, you can alternate, and you
Right.
can have more teeing space. Par 3s, they have a formula for it, I don't remember exactly what, but you look at with the exception of that particular hole and the tees on 11, our par 3s tees are significantly smaller than they should be, especially the 17th hole. And the other thing is, in our course, with the amount of play we get, L93 was not the grass to put on the tees. If I had my druthers, I'd strip every tee out there, and I'd recondition the top, and I'd either seed it or sod it to a low cut blue, and I'd be happier than what. Doesn't thatch up as much, it spreads, it tillers, it rhizomes just as much as the bent grass, and it's a better play for what we're getting, for what we're experiencing. I mean, 3/4 of the time you're hitting the ball off a piece of wood. So it doesn't make a difference if you have a bent grass tee or not. And bent grass tee is going to be more, I don't understand why they put it on the tees when L93, whether it's on a tee, fairway, or green, is still going to require brushing, aerating, verticutting, top dressing, and we just don't have the time or the money or the people to be doing all that to fairways and tees, but that's
Steve,
another.
are you not
story.
attempting to oversee
Oh, yeah, we're overseeding, yeah.
with the?
Or what you might want to call interseeding, because we're putting in a rye and a low-cut blue into a bent grass circumstance. And what you'll see is, you'll see it establishing itself, but in those areas where the bent grass has got that thick mat on the top, and the seed will start to establish, but you put a seed in the thatch mat and it's going to die. The seed has to have seed-to-soil contact. So that's why if we get it into the soil with the slice seeder, then we can start some conversion. But you're not going to get a complete conversion unless you were to strip it and get that whole thatch mat out of there. Or you can go the opposite direction of, instead of stripping it completely, then you can basically use the aeration verticutting process to strip it. Set that G60 or that first product verticut a little bit deeper and just rip the snot out of it, but it's going to look a little ugly for a couple weeks. So, fairly.
What's the cost of purchasing turf for the low cut blue?
Well, purchasing, I mean, I haven't checked the sod prices yet, or the seed prices. You're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $3 a pound for a 50-pound bag. So you're looking at about 125 to 150, 175 bucks a bag. 5 pounds per thousand is going to cover 10,000 square feet. You're going to slice it in two directions.
What's it take to resod number 6?
Well, if you wanted
resod.
If you wanted to resod it, you would, stripping it wouldn't be too bad. I mean, we can do that ourselves. You want to strip it, and then you want to basically take a second stripping, so you're not trying to plant grass on top of roots. So you're going to have to strip it. You're going to have to level it with a new mix, dish it out a little bit, level it with a new mix, and then sod over top of that.
Is that like 10,000?
Right, I don't know. I don't have the machine to really level it. You might be able to do it with a small Bobcat and a laser level. I'd have to ask my friend Dan about how he would go about doing that. But I think that
See
might
if you
be
can
a
get
decent range.
Get an eyeball
All right.
estimate of what that is.
I think we need, like you said, make another tee box.
Oh, same thing on the fifth hole.
That'll cure a lot of that whole situation.
If it just means cutting down one tree.
Yeah, and you'd have to build it up, right? I mean, that's flat.
Well, yeah, you're gonna want to bring it up, and you're going to have a particular slope on the side.
Right.
You would want to raise it up close to the side of the tee on the other side.
Right.
So
Something you guys can do?
I mean, well, if given we have some machines, but not with the existing machines we have, and if we're gonna, if you're going to go into building tees, I'm going to go see the same thing I've said before. We don't have a significant number of the appropriately aged folks to be out there hand leveling and carting material around and doing that. And again, this is part of the conversation I had with the National Golf Foundation. And I told them, I said, I don't want to consider it a complaint, but what we have to start doing if we're thinking about the future is we have to start approaching projects on our property in the professional industry standard manner of doing projects. Bid documents, specifications, because there aren't going to be any projects less than 10 grand. And unless something changes with our ability to hire, retain good employees, which it doesn't seem like it's going to be changing anytime soon, unfortunately, we aren't going to get anybody. I've been advertising for 3.5 weeks for somebody. I've got zero, nothing, no response. And I hate to say it, but the only thing you're going to be able to do in the business right now is to steal people from someone else. And unfortunately, you don't pay enough to steal anybody. So, in answer to that, I don't, smaller tees like the ones that we did out back, yes, I don't think we have a problem doing that, and I think the two out back are doing just fine. I mean, we learned, and we're going to rebuild the one on the ninth hole because that one was, I mean, I'll take credit for that one not being of the appropriate size. It's just not big enough, and now with recontouring of the fairway, we can make it bigger, and we'll hope to be able to do that this, this fall. But I'll get some estimates on
Should
converting.
we consider moving on the 15th, moving the white back?
That's up to you folks. I'll be more than happy to put them back there, but I'm not going to make that decision unless you
He's
folks,
pretty bad.
unless you folks decide that that's what you want to do.
15,
Yeah.
go back to where,
Yeah,
Now, the other thing you could do, although you probably hear a lot of complaining, is you could put them on the back tee, the big one on the back, if you were still concerned about. But I don't know if they would still not hit balls into someone's backyard because they were at that back tee. I don't know. That's another option. But, using that white tee, if you want to go back to there, that's fine. But most of the, what would happen is when you use that big tee in the back, that's carryover water. So most of them are going to aim to the right because they're not
well,
going
they
to try to
have
carry over
yeah,
the water.
because most of the people
Can't
that
reach
play
it.
out there don't have that ability
Yeah,
to carry the ball that far.
yeah.
So you aim right, and when you aim right, the ball
Goes right.
doesn't go left.
Maybe, yeah, more
Yes,
so than
right.
right. So,
but
So-
but if you put the white tee back,
The original,
original, and you
Yeah.
put a sign saying 180 yards to the 100-yard
Corner.
marker, so that somebody knows you don't have to blast away. You can just
maybe.
lay up to an area
Well,
and makes a place.
with all the high-tech equipment that everyone uses in the golf course, most people have sites that they can figure out not only from the green, from the tee to the green, but there's certain ones that figure out, all right, I need to go, and it shows up on it. Where is 175 yards?
well, geez, the bloody guy with the Apple Watch can sit there and
Oh, yeah,
look
I
down
know
there
that.
and see how far away he is from the green or where he is.
But it probably will help it. You put a sign out there saying from here to the corner is 100 and whatever it is.
The 100-yard marker is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the MGA marker goes to the center of the green. And we can do that. We can measure the distance and get a sign made up.
It won't hurt.
Because there are
Right.
some people that, they'll take out, like, a 5-wood or something that they really don't need, right? So if they hit it right, they've hit it too far, and then they hit it wrong.
Right.
Then that is far enough to get over to the fence area, where maybe subliminally, they say, oh, it's only 175 to that, I'll hit, 5-iron or whatever.
Right.
And then even if it's mishit, maybe it won't carry as far to get them in trouble. I don't know.
Will that
We
help
haven't
you
used-
recover that?
When's the last time we used that tee?
Good question. We haven't used it this year, I don't think.
No? Dana, last year?
No, we didn't use it this year, and at the end of the year last year, you were on the fairway.
Oh, okay.
So I'd say
2 years?
outside a good month, or a good 12 months, anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember,
Why don't
well,
we try it, see what happens?
You making that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we go back to the original tee box on 15 with, hopefully we'll get an appropriate sign saying that from the tee box to the corner of is whatever.
Play the course as it was originally designed.
Right. Yes.
all right.
And be on the lookout for complaints from the neighbors, Dana.
We haven't had any, Dana, right?
Mm-mm.
Either house there?
Nope.
No?
Just Just be mindful, just in case something starts to change.
There's too many of them. Back again.
Somebody want to second that? John made the
Second.
motion, and second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I did that. Maintenance Mondays, we have the 21st of this month, which is this coming Monday, September 11th, September 25th left. Just wanted to-
What do you plan on doing?
This Monday, we'll be finishing fairway spraying and top dressing and brushing greens. The other 2 Mondays, I have things in, that we're going to be doing. It all depends on how the weather impacts me, which particular one we're going to do. We're going to get back on our top dressing, every 2 weeks, greens top dressing every 2 weeks. But we're also going to be aerating and overseeding tees. We have green collars and green cleanups to aerate, and fairways to start verticutting and what have you. So we'll probably do some of that more towards the 25th of September, and we'll concentrate on the tees and the green collars and green cleanups on the 11th, if I can't get out there soon. Our new alarm system was installed today and is functioning. It's a nice system. It's both on-site as well as remote operation. Every time you every time you set the alarm or unset the alarm, it takes a picture of who did it. I get a report every time that the alarm is set and not set. I get a report via text or email. I can set the alarm from my telephone. I can dismantle the alarm or disable the alarm from my telephone or my laptop. For instance, if for some reason I had to come to a meeting like this and I still had staff working, all I'd have to do is they would call and tell me that the building's all locked up. I pull out my phone, I set the alarm, and it's ready to go. So right now, Kevin and I have the remote access. Norm had a half day today, so he wasn't there to set up the remote access for his phone, but then we'll be, so we're up and ready, and the alarm system's been installed, so we're monitored. As of the 30th of this month, we're going to be losing 2 staff members. We've already lost one. His last day was the 14th. He has his full-time job is at Providence College, and they've been called back to for the school season this past week. And my other individual will be leaving. His last day will be the 30th of August as he's going to college. As I mentioned earlier, we've been going on three weeks now with advertising for help, and we haven't got any responses to this point. And I think it's not for discussion right now, but I think when we have a little bit more time in the winter months, we really do have to take a closer look at our pay scale and our adjustments that we need to make. Again, speaking with the National Golf Foundation, I told them, I said, you folks can give us all the greatest information in the world about where we can go with the future of this facility, but if we don't have people to do the work, then we're not going anywhere. Nobody's going anywhere without people to do the work, and people who want to make an occupation out of the work, not somebody that wants to come work for you for 2.5 months until he finds more money and goes over here. And we have to make it more attractive for people to come to work if we want to be successful in the future, because the days of paying people peanuts are over. You just look at the
Look at the signs out there.
look at the number of people looking to hire, and look what the people are getting paid.
That hasn't changed, and I don't think it's ever gonna anymore.
No.
That's the end of it.
Yeah, I think
We've got ourselves in
Yeah.
a situation where qualified people There's no more, okay, I've been working here 10 years and I'm gonna work my way till the end, no more.
Job mercenaries.
If Joe comes up and says, hey, listen, you've been here 10 years, I'm gonna give you an extra $25,000 a year to come work for me. Okay,
See ya.
there's no more loyalty.
No,
It's gone.
no, loyalty's
It's
gone,
nothing.
yeah.
Nothing.
And the other thing, again, I just put it here as a reminder, is we don't have a documentation of benefits for people who work at the golf course. There's nothing written down, and there needs to be a clear definition of what those benefits are. It's just difficult for me to grasp. I mean, my wife has been working in the same place for 42 years. She knew what her benefits were from day one, and every year they go over them and make sure everybody understands and what they are and whether or not they've changed. My daughter and my son just started their new jobs within the last 3 months. Each one of them had a clear definition and package of what the benefits were when they signed on the dotted line, that they accepted the position. And we haven't had that here for 22 years that I've been here. So we need to have some clarity to that, and we need to put together a handbook. If we have to do it on ourselves, then we should put one together that can be approved by the Board of Selectmen, because we need to move forward with something that gives people some sense of security, but also defines to them what's expected of them, and also what the benefits provided to them are. I put a little list of tree removals here. I just put that in for people to look at. These are the trees that I'd like to start removing this winter when the ground firms up. Hopefully it will. And you can peruse that list. If you'd like them to be marked, I can go out and mark them. Trying to push the tree line back on the second hole to the right about 15 yards so people can actually see the bunker and start using the entire tee, especially on the black and the blue
I think
tee.
that's a great idea.
Because they can't see. I mean, I was standing up there with Tim, and he said that there's
I
no
know.
framing of the hole. The
No,
bunker doesn't
no,
do anything,
no.
and nobody can see where the ball goes if it goes
Yeah.
that way.
25 years ago, those things were probably
Yeah.
half the size.
Yeah, they're
Now we're in
yeah.
a situation where trees are growing and something has to be done with them.
And I mentioned the fourth tee, the left-hand side, shading those back 3 tees. I'm trying, and we've been having some success getting them to respond a little bit, but until I get more sunlight out there and until they can dry out, they're not going to get much better than they are. And they're actually pretty small, comparatively speaking. And if you look at that hole, nobody likes to use the right side of the tee because they're worried about going into the trees on that side of the woods. Now, we spoke about the fourth green before on that right side, and that's something that's going to have to be marked out, and that might take some assistance from the tree company. And the most important thing for me to find out is where the property line is, and then I'll be able to tell whether I'm going to need help doing that. I mean, there's going to be a lot of lumber from work back there if we decide to do any of it. And the question is, basically, what do we do with it? Do we haul it back? Do we take it down to DPW and they grind it up? I've already contacted a couple sawmill folks, and they're not interested because of the quantity isn't as big as they would like, but the accessibility of coming in and getting it and so on. So, and then we already mentioned the 11th tee.
So the
And-
property line on 4, you need to have that.
Yeah, that right-hand side of that hole, we need to have a survey done so we can find out exactly where the property line is. 'Cause I don't have any, I had what you provided, but
Can you check with Romanelli and see what it would cost to get that surveyed and marked?
who's the,
John
Romanelli.
Romanelli. I got his phone number. Oh,
Local guy.
yeah, he's a surveyor, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to
Yeah, I'll forward it to you.
forward it to me. And then the last thing I have is on the agenda that Ed had there, he said fall work schedule. So alls I did was outline September, October, November, December, and put down items that we would be addressing in those months in addition to the routine daily maintenance activities. So that's the last, that's what the fall work schedule is there. I believe that's what you were referring to, so.
What were we referring to?
The fall works.
In my mind, I'm saying, what do we need to do with number 8?
I think Steve said that DPW was on target possibly in November,
Yeah, I
right?
spoke to Dan, and
We gotta get 8 fixed.
Absolutely.
yeah, well, I spoke to Dan, and he mentioned to me that November would be the best timeline for allowing him to come in and do some of that work. Now, when I looked at the 8th and 9th cart path, there's a little bit more than just doing a cart path. Again, whether or not you want to go into that, of course, it's the new cart path and the berms. We have to address the drainage, which I think we can do, by basically, appropriate grading. We have some trees and stumps to remove. I'd also, if I'm going to be down there and I'm going to have that lovely big old excavator in there, I'd like to rebuild that bunker on the right side of the 7th green, which I think we can do, because it's, and that would entail, if people are interested in it, is getting rid of all those sickly dead pine trees to the right of it, because those roots are growing right in through the bunker and what have you.
That small amount there,
Huh?
yeah, it's not a lot.
No, there's
No.
3 or 4 of them, and half of them are dead anyway.
Pine.
Because if he's there, he can pull out the stumps and everything.
And then what, just seed it?
Huh? Yeah, well, we'd remount it. Because we're going to be working there and moving material in and out and what have you. And we may even be able to take some of the excavate from cart path work and use that as a base, and then and then loom over top of it, and take the
Some shape
bunker,
to it.
give it a larger, make it a somewhat larger bunker, redo the slope, pull it off to the side a little bit. We'd be able to drain it, although that one kind of fills up with water, so we would have to raise it up just enough to get a drain underneath it and cut it through the cart path and exit it through the other side. I would like to extend that white tee a little bit further forward and get rid of that forward tee on the right-hand side, which is just somebody's afterthought. It's like 1.5 the size is this table.
Oh, the forward tee's on the right on number 8?
Yeah, the one that the one that used to be the ladies' tee.
Yeah.
Again, when
You
I
gotta
don't know.
walk through a puddle there most of the time.
Yeah, so if we extend the white tee somewhat further forward, then we can eliminate that and put those tee blocks back on that side and give them a better playing hole. They'll be up a little bit higher, the shot will be more direct, and again, it's a par 3, and so that would, part of that. Again, while we're down there, and this is something I think my guys can do as well, is that bunker on the 8th hole. Either, we fill it in as has been suggested, or we raise it up and just make one bunker out of it. And then if we raise it up, make one bunker, redo the slope, put the drain through, then it won't fill up with water like it is now, because it's basically 1.5 foot above groundwater level when it floods down there, and it always fills up with water. And then the other part of this would be, Dan, when we were down there doing the cart path, he looked at and he said, if I'm going to be down here and you ever want to do this cart path next to the 9th tee, we should do it at the same time. And I asked him, I said, well, if we do that, can you buy me some room over here? Because the embankment of the 9th tee is deteriorating. And he said, well, if you take down all those trees. And I said, well, that's a little bit. He said, no. He said, just tell me which ones you want down, and I'll put the excavator to them. They'll be down in no time. Take those down, and then we're going to, I don't know if you saw the stone type wall that he built on the 2nd hole. We would take something, cut that embankment back a little bit, build it up with the stones so it gives a little bit more room for the cart path, put a berm on the right-hand side, and roll the slope of the tee down into the berm so we can redo the side of the tee. And I mean, the rocks wouldn't, I mean, we talked about doing it with Mafia blocks, but that was too expensive. So he said, I got plenty of rocks, we can just do it with rocks, you know, make it the same way we did the other one.
And that, you were saying that may also stop some of the cart path, how people go drive up on the T. If you give them a little bit more space,
Yeah.
just stay on the tire.
Yeah,
So
we'll
you can
put
see
the-
the tire marks
Yeah,
and
there's
it's
not a lot
wearing
of room there.
No, there's not a lot of room, and those trees are starting to kind of do this because they're on that slope.
like us.
Yeah. So those are the other things that I figured would be involved in that, as opposed to just, and they can all be done at the same time. You know,
Where's
there's
the
those.
property line on
The property line is above the hill, I believe. Again, that might be something where, you know, we get
that? Yes,
Mr.
Romanelli.
Romanelli to take a look at it as well.
Yeah.
I'd have them do that one too.
Number 4.
You mentioned a lot of things that needs to be done. And we did quite a bit on 2 this spring. Is this the type of thing that can be done between good weather in February and March?
I believe so.
Or do we have to bite
I
the
mean,
bullet?
the way has been described to me as far as getting assistance from Dan is he said, if I'm to help you with any of this, I would like to come in and do all the prep work in the fall. So when spring comes and the plant opens, I can come in there and lay asphalt and that's it.
Do we really need to be thinking about if revenue continues to be ahead of plan to close the golf course earlier, unlike December 1, to allow Dan time to do all that prep work?
I would be, that's, you know, that would help. I mean, I would check with him to make
See what the
sure
schedule is.
what his schedule was, because hopefully there, you know, there aren't too many snowflakes, because when they fall, then, all bets are off. But that would, surely would assist.
Maybe you could do a full-on maintenance Monday on the off-peak season, and depending on, obviously, on Dan's schedule, and target and rip away at it piece by piece by, I mean, it all depends on
Slow it
Dan's
down
schedule.
Monday, and just start,
Just chip away at it.
right?
Well, I think when you do 8 and 9, to get that accomplished, you're gonna wanna move in there, get it done, and move out. You're not gonna wanna be down there a week and then come back another week, because the reason I say that is because the process of work would be so much that you'd have to, especially if you had to deal with the weather. But then again, you are asking a neighbor for a favor, and I'm sure that neighbor would like to have you in and out of there
True.
as soon as possible. The only other, I don't know if there's another option of getting down in there or not.
Check. Well, talk to Dan. See what he's got on his schedule.
The only other option would be which would be an awful long option, is to build a road on the left hand side of the 9th hole, depending on where your property line was, all the way back down there through the woods.
So we have to do that first, find
Yeah.
the property line.
Yeah, we have to find the property line before we do anything on the left side of the 9th tee. But that would be something to consider. We could offer that and see. I mean, like I said, I don't have enough machinery to do a lot of that work, and I don't have the skill level on the bigger machinery. But I mean, like I said, the bunker work and stuff we could do once we got the trees out of the way and the stumps out of the way. And if for some reason the mini excavator was available, that's all we would need to do that bunker work, is the little machine. So But we have to talk with them, we have to make sure we're on the schedule, and now's the time to do it, so.
I think that sounds like a good plan to try to impact those areas this fall then.
Because if we have, if we have the plan, we can go in there and do it right away. And the most important thing is the cart path work and pulling out the stumps. And what we're going to do with that cart path is we're going to kick it over towards the 9th tee a little bit so we can adjust the drainage there so we don't have a big flood like we do on the existing cart path. But also, once we get all those stumps out of there, we can create a little bit more playable area on the right side of that hole and push the cart path a little bit further away and have a nicer embankment to the 9th tee. If you go along the embankment on the right-hand side of the 9th tee, the pine roots are growing in through the embankment and up and actually into the right-hand side of the tee. So, we're gonna, once we latch onto those stumps and start pulling, we may have to do some root cutting, root pruning and whatnot so they don't disturb the tee surface.
Just a brief comment about course conditions. I'm always on golf now looking at reviews and customer reviews. The course condition rating is a 4-star plus for Acushnet, so
Oh,
we're doing something right, Steve.
yeah, well, good.
National Golf Foundation loved it. He
Yeah.
said after reviewing our track compared to our competition, that you're gonna read about it soon, but he said we're there. We're the place to play.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I
The
think it's,
amenities aren't too good, but that's all right, a 3-star.
well, I think that's what,
We called it a mismatch.
well, the thing is, we have to realize, especially, and I'll admit, I like to spend money.
No.
But I think you need to spend money. And I think the time to start spending money is now, when you have an opportunity to do smaller things that are going to make a big impression and make a
Right.
big difference,
Yep.
as opposed to waiting 4 and 5 and 6 years down the road where you have to do massive things which are going to cost you a lot of money, disrupt a lot of stuff, and make it difficult for people, when you can get in there and come with the approach, come with a plan that says, okay, I'm going to do 3 bunkers every year, and this is what we're going to do, or 3 holes worth of bunkers, or we're going to do 3 or 4 tees every year, or something like that. So we have a plan so people can see that you're doing something,
Right.
but you also don't sit there and wait till everything starts to fail.
Right.
No.
And I was gonna say, to speak to that, we hear it in the shop constantly from customers on, I love coming here because I love seeing you did the work on 2. I love the turnaround on 3.
Yeah.
The wall, the little rock wall. I mean, they're small things, but they are highly noticeable, and people pick up on it, and they just keep coming. They like the place. I had the director from Catanzas played, loved the place. We had New Bedford Country Club members. I think I told you, Dave, played the other day. He's getting rid of his membership at the country club, and he says, I'm playing Acushnet. This place is playing and looking better than the country club that I'm joined. So these aren't words that I'm putting in their mouth. This is what they're selling to us. So I mean, we're trying our best, and some people are noticing.
No, like you said, they meaning the National Golf Foundation used the word mismatch several times, saying that, like, condition of the course itself, is here, and everything else is here. And do we want to make them,
Well,
over time,
I
start
hope
to
so.
start to level it up, right?
I hope so.
Well, it's not so much level it up, understanding what you need to do to improve in certain spots.
Right, just making the investments to.
And keep that investment going, not let it lapse.
Right.
And and like I said, while you're doing good economically, it's a good time to spend. You don't want to be spending when you're doing poorly economically, or at least not. You don't want to spend all your cash. But there's going to get to a point where I don't know you might know the laws better than I am, but we just can't keep on bankrolling money. We have to start spending it.
Right, and to me,
As far as the
aside from
laws,
say a minimum that we want to keep for a true emergency,
yeah.
why do we make money to invest it back in the course?
Got to build the business.
doing that. All right.
I thought there was the laws of the enterprise fund saying that you had to do something with it as opposed to.
There's no hard
We
and
have
fast.
to build a clubhouse, that's what
Yeah.
we have to do.
Well, I mean, as we discussed, I think it's noticeable, you need the infrastructure, you need some cart path work in spots, address some of the issues that Steve's stating, and you can go along the way and take off these little projects and knock them down, and then eventually, go for the golden egg and put in a clubhouse.
We're fortunate after 25 years to
Yeah,
be able
absolutely.
to go forward with some of these projects.
It's a huge
without-
accomplishment.
You look at quite a few courses that just don't make it anymore. They just
Hawthorne,
can't.
Lakeville, those
They
places are
just
dying.
don't, yeah, they're just disintegrating.
Well, speaking of 25 years, isn't it this week?
It is.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So, it's right around this week or so, right?
I think it was what was it, 18th or 19th, I think.
19th, I thought.
19th of
I think the
August.
same thing.
How long is it till the thing is paid for now? About 3 more years?
2027.
3
Four
years.
more.
The last payment is
Four more.
28,
And then that's a small one, though. The last,
55,000.
yeah, the last big payment is fiscal '27, so we're in '24, so 4, 5, 6, and 7 for this year and 3 more years of the larger payment, the final.
So I'd say about
$1,000
$4 million, yeah.
Wow.
We made our FY '24 bond payment of $300,000 last week, I think. So our total debt outstanding is $900,000.
Ooh.
And we got a free cash rating of 1.5 million. So you do the math.
Right. Well, it's a good place to be in, because for years, we, for whatever reason, 300,000 was kind of the magical number.
Spend it
We wanted to make sure
before
we
you-
always had at least that. And so,
Put it to work.
all right, so let's move on to
Mhm.
operations. Dana, we already did the forecasted sales, but you can go through the rest of your list here.
I think you guys have discussed the ATM. I mentioned it to the sent several emails to town hall, and I'm waiting response, waiting instruction for them. I do have the number for this just came in July. There've kind of been some inquiries as to why, or what is the necessity of having an ATM, and for the 30 days that we had it, we have 7,800 reasons why. Any business
I didn't know we had it.
I would think that you would want to put a place to access some cash, and in 30 days, people pulled $7,800 out of the machine. That's a good opportunity for you to get a piece of that cash when it's in their pockets. It's that simple. Now, how do they use it? They can use it on the outdoor grill. They can use it to register for outings, because outings don't take credit cards. A lot of guys show up, haven't paid. Do you have an ATM? No, go to Scuttlebutts. Now they walk in,
Yeah.
they hit it, and as you can see, they hit it for,
That's
pretty good amount.
That's 1 month?
that's 1 month. And
And what do we get out of that?
it's attached. So every month, and moving forward, your fee will be equal to your transactions.
So it's 50.
So that was the original startup, was that rate. In discussion, after we discussed a trial basis, he jumped it up. So we'll be getting basically $1 per transaction.
As far as ATM, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen has expressed to me some concern
Mm-hmm.
about how the ATM machine got installed.
Mm-hmm.
And as of right now, it is on the Board of Selectmen agenda for Tuesday, for you to go before then
Yeah.
and present whatever needs to be presented.
Sure. I won't be able to go this Tuesday because I'm the only person at the shop for the whole day.
You're on the agenda Tuesday. You need to deal with that, either get a substitute, get a replacement, whatever.
What's the transaction fee on that?
It's $4 for transactions, and you get $1 out of that.
So the customer's paying $4, yeah. It's kind of a lot, but, and just like some of the other questions that I've heard, 'cause somebody said to me the fact that, you know, they wanted to get some food at the grill, and they were told to go inside and get cash, and I'm like, oh, now you're whacking me with a $4 charge. So is that, are we pushing people to pay only with cash outside? Because I don't like forcing somebody into having to
I'm
pay
not
more than
forcing
they need to.
anybody. There's a sign outside that says there's an ATM that they can use it if they choose to. If they have a credit card, they can use credit card in the shop, pay for it, and then use the receipt and go down to the grill the way we've done it. Nobody's forced to do anything.
I'm just saying, that's the question that I got.
Yeah. Nope, understandable.
Another question I got was, I mean, you're like saying this on TV, but we've now got this box with hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in cash sitting in it
Yeah,
overnight.
it's not, I don't believe it's thousands. He comes in maybe 3 times a week. I'm not sure what he loads it with. It's not my machine.
Right.
It's not my cash either.
Not exactly, but it's on our property if someone would choose to be nefarious and try to break in and do something. Another question I had was from a technology person. How is that on the banking's network? Is it like plugged into the town's internet access? Is it on its own separate thing?
It's on its own connection. He has kind of like Steve's connection with his alarm system. This gentleman is tied into his businesses, all his ATMs. It tells him when transactions take place. His phone number is on the machine. If something goes awry, the phone number is on there. They contact him. He's in charge of everything to do with that machine.
Right, but the
All we do
machine-
is make
but the
$1
machine
per
is-
transaction.
Is on this global network somehow, right, to say verify my card. So was there a phone line put into the clubhouse dedicated to this machine? Is it plugged into our internet access in the clubhouse, like
I'm assuming that it's connected to an internet access.
for hours?
I don't know.
No, not ours, because he never asked me for any passwords or anything with regarding my internet access. So again, I think it's tied in, somehow it's tied into his system.
They have its own Wi-Fi, wouldn't it?
I can ask him for more details. Again, this is just a trial basis.
It's just,
Gentlemen have asked us for 20 years for ATM. If we have an ATM, we send them to scuttlebutts. Now we have one on the property. You have people using it. I mean, the guy hadn't even installed it yet, and somebody was trying to punch in their numbers, and it wasn't even installed yet. As soon as he put it in and attached it, plugged it in, somebody was on the machine using it. That's what's been used for the first 30 days. If you don't want it, I'll call the guy tomorrow and tell him to pull it out. No problem. You have no amenities at that golf course. None. You have a grill and you have toilets. That's it. You want to give them an ATM to spend some cash, access some money, so that they can, whatever, chum it up with their buddies. You owe me $20 for today's round. Oh, I don't have any cash. Go hit the ATM, buy some food. You're buying a round. Go to the ATM. I mean, I don't know. Whatever you guys decide to do. Thought it was a good idea. Didn't think there was any drawbacks to it.
It's on the agenda for the
Right.
selectmen, so.
I guess my last question
Yes.
related to the whole thing of the
Security
availability of.
Issues.
Right, it could be physical security, it could be internet security, if it is in fact on our network potentially somehow. I think those are just some of the questions that people have been asking. My last thing is thinking of the food and the convenience of outside. Have we ever looked into getting, the Clover or Square or any of those like Wi-Fi terminals out there so someone can just like tap their credit card or their phone and pay on the go outside?
I haven't. I think the town runs the credit card processing through their current account, so they hold all negotiations with regards to rates.
Yeah.
And I think the Square is a little bit higher than what the town usually pays.
Well,
So
it would have to
the
be
town
that.
would have to
Not
facilitate
that it would have
that.
to be that brand, but whoever the provider is probably
Yeah.
has some equivalent of, the touchless reader that they can tap your phone or your card or whatever. Even if we're on our own Wi-Fi, so to connect back into the clubhouse. And just giving the people that option instead of saying, I don't have anything, I'll run inside to pay, even if they're paying with their credit card inside, to run back out, or run in, get some cash, pay $4, come back out. Hey, let me just take my phone, here's my $12 for a couple of burgers and a drink, move on.
Sure.
I just wasn't, something
You
like overnight, it's
you
just
have to
another thought.
understand this, the outdoor grill, I mean, we've been running it that way since I've been there.
Yeah.
But it really started to kind of become established through COVID, because that was the hot thing to do. Eat outdoors. So now people eat outdoors and they enjoy it. So we've kind of just enhanced our outdoor cafe so we can have additional volume, as it occurred, because you don't have any storage. You have no refrigeration. You have no closets of storage of anything in there. As a matter of fact, quoted by the NGF experts in the field, they said this place is just barely manageable. So, I mean, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got.
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to make you more money.
There's absolutely limitations to that facility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Refrigeration. Is this the next thing, anything refrigeration in process?
Yes, well, so as that takes place, just to give you an idea of what we're gonna need if Coca-Cola cannot come through, you're gonna need 4 of these units at basically $800 a piece. So, as things transpire, when we get towards the end of the season, if they haven't come through, I'm gonna have Steve's guys team up with my guys. We're gonna rip out the units, put them on the street, tell them to come and pick them up, and then we're gonna have to buy 4 of those and put them in the
What's
kitchen.
their issue?
They don't have them, they say. They can't get them. The guy came by, he had them in his truck, looked at the job. Geez, I got 4 more jobs to go to today. I can't spend time trying to get these things in and out of there. Back in the truck, down the road he went. Done.
And that's Coke.
That's Coke. You can't make Coke do anything they don't want to do.
Call Pepsi.
You can call Pepsi.
Have you called Pepsi?
I haven't called Pepsi because
I would.
I'm waiting for this gentleman to follow through and giving me again his.
A lot of the restaurants and stuff have done away with that and got into Pepsi.
Mhm.
And you go in, I'll have a Coke, no, how about Pepsi?
So I'm giving him his due
I
time
think they
to
get better
see
service. than-
if he can. Yeah, but you know what? Like I said at the last meeting, I've kicked Pepsi out twice. I've kicked Coke out twice.
Oh, okay.
They both eventually get to a point where we don't drive enough volume for them to really care about. We're just a point of exposure for their products. Which,
Yeah.
being sugar water, you need as much exposure as you can get.
And that's the only 2 that you can.
Yeah, play around with, which is what I've done. So now we're I'm working them to see if we can get the refrigeration, as we've done for 20 years off of our vendors, and if not, then we're gonna have to
What
buy
do we
4
have in there,
refrigerators.
Dana? How many
We have two
units?
units that have double doors, but those are, it's a pain in the butt
Yeah, so you want
getting
sliders.
those in and out if they go down. And now I have 2 of those units. One doesn't work at all, and one is half working. So it's not even being utilized, which is why I have the big truck in the back. That now houses all of our stuff that needs refrigeration.
That's the best thing
I mean,
that ever happened out there as
absolutely.
far as
Killer
refrigeration
ideas.
goes. Without that,
Without that, you're
you're in
toast. You
trouble.
never would have made it through COVID because you didn't have any
Without that,
refrigeration
you-
to manage your food and beverage operation.
Yeah, I've seen what you've done and what's in there. It's not appropriate, it's not good. It's basically
It's
should be in the
almost
trash.
impossible, as quoted by the NGF.
Well,
He actually thought that we subbed out our food and beverage.
well,
I mean, we talked about maintenance already.
As far as chairs, I'm ordering all my catalogs are out of date. So this is the newest stuff I have. These are some of the options that you can look at for styles. They're rather expensive. And as far as being able to store them, because you have no storage, I recommend going with what we currently have. There's a small plastic fold-up chair. They're the cheapest. prior to,
So you need 150 of these things.
yeah, you're gonna need about
150.
150, if not more, a few more.
Maybe one.
And we can, that's about as many as we can fit in that shed. Outside of that, and as a matter of fact, if they come in, we gotta take everything that we got and get rid of it immediately, because you got nowhere to keep it.
$20, it's not a bad.
No.
Yeah, that's,
It says folding resin chairs sold in 4 packs only, $20.
4-pack's gonna be $80, I'm guessing.
Since there's a storage issue up there, wouldn't it make sense? I mean, I hate to add another building, but wouldn't it make sense to get rid of one or two of the crummy buildings and make a bigger building that could be used somewhere else later on when we decide to, whatever we're going to do, but to give him more storage space and more accessibility?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, that one thing's falling apart. It was falling apart 5 years ago. The only building that's not falling apart is the new one that we had the kids put in.
right, that's where we put the majority of our stuff at this
Yeah,
point.
because you got nowhere else to put it. Can't put it inside.
Nope. So, I mean, you can take a look at those chairs. I'm waiting catalogs when they come in. I'll see if I can get a chair similar to what we currently have, because those are stackable and they fit nice and tight in the shed. You can fit 150 of them with all the tables that we have, as well as all the barrels. And when we close up for the winter, everything goes into the shed that we had built. That's the only storage you have. So that's what I would recommend. I can give you examples when the catalogs come in and see if I can get something close to it. But that,
Yeah, you just made a good point about the current ones being stackable. If these folding ones come, you know, if you stack them in front of each other versus being able to stack them up to the ceiling.
right,
You know, the stackable front might get you more space in the winter time.
right, and which is what we do. I think what we do is we stack them out this way, then we put some of the tables on top, and then we stack the chairs on top of that. And we go with all the height we can, just to create some,
Yeah.
little bit of walking space. If Steve needs to get in there for some electrical, I don't use the circuit board in there or something like that.
Well, we had the irrigation controller to get to.
So-
But we also, if depending on how the winter goes, if we can collect balls,
Right,
we'll go and collect balls, and we have the old ball washer down in the shop, and we wash them, and once we get enough of them, we'll, put a couple barrels in the storage shed to start the year with, so.
That facility, that clubhouse is the most neglected piece that we own on that course. Period. It doesn't
You,
suit anybody.
it's, listen,
It
I
doesn't-
think we all know, and I think the NGF
It's a
said,
fly-by-night situation, not because of you,
No.
but because of what we have there. It's an embarrassment, period.
so when he
You have
came in.
no place to store anything. You got that refrigeration, I don't know how you got it, but that was the smartest thing that you did.
Listen, you've cooked meals,
It's-
you know what it
it's
takes.
terrible. It's just a lousy setup, and for 25 years, say, all right, 10 years I can live with it, 15, okay. After that, that's enough.
We would probably been better off just putting up a steel.
I don't know, Bob, but that's, it has a
Years ago.
reflection, it has a reflection on the course, it has a reflection on him, it has a reflection on the food that they send out.
It has a reflection on the town, it has a
Oh.
reflection on all of you as well.
Well, the other thing, I mean, if, understanding that, I mean, again, I'll be the first to volunteer to spend money, but why don't we come up with something that's going to help with some of those circumstances now, whether it's a small steel building or something that can be, that can be put in a position
Well, a
that
small
that helps
steel
with
building,
storage and
20 by
everything else.
20 or something like that, fairly inexpensively.
Yeah,
The
I mean, we,
foundation and the flooring
I tell you,
and
I spoke to Dan about that. I mean, with his help, I mean, we can put the bloody things up. They come in kits.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
All you need is have the footings poured. Once you have the
Yeah,
footings,
Yeah.
Something like that would be great, but, the thing is that somewhere down the future, there's gotta be some kind of built building there.
yeah.
So it would have to be something that if you know, go with a steel building, it'd have to be tied into what we're gonna do in the future.
Well,
Or
so
you
you can,
dismantle it.
you can take it apart and you can put it somewhere else, you can put it to
I
a
mean,
separate
it-
use.
it-
You can
just-
take it apart and sell it to somebody.
Just the storage alone, you know, it's ridiculous. You know, you go in there and there's stuff stacked on top of stuff, all the way to the ceiling.
And that's the volume that you're doing. I buy week to week. So this week, I just got an order, stacked to the ceilings, peak season. And then through the week, it goes back down. Next week, again, stacked to the ceilings. I mean, like you said, with the volume you're doing, it is just barely manageable. And we've been doing it quite successfully.
You've been maintaining your own, yes.
But you're not gonna grow from there out of that. It's not gonna happen. And from what in our discussion, what he stated, if it is the decision to stay with that type of format, you eventually will be the next one down the line at some point as all these other golf courses grow their businesses and invest in their infrastructures and their facilities and their amenities, because as the business grows, your customers want more and our customers will want more. And if we can't give it to them, they will find somebody that will. So,
Yeah, I get it. You take that steel building and once you're done with it storage-wise, use it for a golf simulator.
You do
Put
that.
two of them in there.
Just
I mean-
storage alone, Steve, between, you know, all the stuff that he has, and, you know.
That's what I'm saying, you know,
no place to-
it's a problem. It's something we should address. We shouldn't let it go on any longer because it doesn't help, you know, with doing, you know, appropriate business or does, you know, and it's, you know, and I say it, but it's time to start spending some of the egg instead of sitting there and looking at it. Because these things these aren't small things and they should be taken care of now. Because like you said, people are going to get to the point where they say,
I'm
well,
not gonna wait for you.
I'm not gonna wait, I'm gonna go somewhere
Any
else.
chance to get some kind of a estimate on a steel, a small buildings?
Oh, you could go on, I can go on, I've already got estimates
you
on
got the-
steel buildings because I'm proposing to put one up down at my shop.
Yeah.
70 by 50, a little bit larger than what you're thinking about here, but, yeah,
I don't think right now we need that large.
well, no, that would be for me.
Oh, yeah. So I'm talking,
Not for me, for
20
your
20 by
equipment.
20 or so, something like that would,
Yeah,
you could store quite a bit.
they have standard sizes and then they have,
Yeah.
yeah, you can go, I've gone
I think the
online
most
and filled out
important, the
forms.
most
and got
expensive
quotes.
part of it
A lot of
would be
money on the
the
course,
flooring,
we don't spend
the
enough.
foundation.
We don't
Yeah.
spend
Listen, and it's
money
not,
to.
you gotta think it's for your customers. That's who the people are that get to experience it. You know what I mean? It's
We have room
presentation
to put something like that, don't we?
to your customers.
Oh, yeah.
So
You
when
could,
customers come in our pro shop, they see pro shop goods, but they see some supplies, because we don't have any closets to store any more stuff. So you might see some rolls of toilet paper. You know, you see some stuff that probably shouldn't be in a pro shop, but that's where we're at. I mean, we try to put them in places where they're less obvious, but they're still there. And
Do we need to make a motion or something to have somebody to check on prices or give an estimate or something? Or, I mean, I don't know how the rest of you feel about a steel building at this point.
I mean, it can't hurt, like, to see if they come in standard sizes, if at least say, whether it's 20 by 20 or 25 by 20, whatever something in that range would be, if we could at least get the quote, and like I said, it's
Yeah, I mean,
for the pad and get it.
Get a quote, then we can take it from there, whether we want it or we don't want it.
Take that.
Well, listen to what's
tin
going on
shed
here.
down that you have, put it there.
well, take two of them and come, you know, and,
Wait,
you know,
get rid of all the sheds and put all of the stuff that's in those sheds
Right.
into
Into a
one,
new-
You're right.
one
It's-
properly placed
properly
location.
positioned building, yeah. You know, where
You
that,
need
you know,
something.
wherever that
We're
might be.
outgrown that whole other thing there.
Maybe
That's
it's trying to
just,
figure out what that appropriate
Yeah.
size would be.
Correct,
like,
and
to replace all of
location.
those when we're equipped with this.
figure out what you would put in there.
I would put all the beverages, I would put all of the paper supplies, I mean, the chairs, the tables, everything that is stored in separate locations would be housed in that one unit.
How big is the shed that we put stuff in now?
And what's that one, 16 by 16? Is that what that
The
is?
big, the
one
new
we
one,
built?
yeah, it's about that size. The one the kids, I mean, I have the plans.
I know they're not that expensive, because I have a friend.
No, they're not that expensive. And the idea is, you know, you put the foundation in, you put the support structures in, whatever it is you want for a floor, and then you construct the building. The only other thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna make sure it is light accessible. And the other thing I would recommend doing is attach it to your alarm system.
Oh, definitely.
There you go.
So
Maybe
however
put a
you
garage
decide,
door
however
in.
you decide to do that,
So
and
you
wherever
come in
you,
and out.
Mhm.
where you decide to position it, so.
You can get the kids at school to do the electrical work. I don't think that would be a problem.
No, or you could get, you could get them to do it, you could get, it's just, you know, a lot of times we sit here and we all have great ideas, we talk about them, and that's all we do with them, we talk about them.
You're right.
And then 12 months later, we're in the
Agree with
same
that.
position with the same lack of storage or
Agree
lack
with
of
that.
this or lack of that. So we need to, put the foot to the pavement there.
Well, you gotta let the business
you-
has to breathe, so there's
If-
times of
if-
contraction and there's times of expansion.
If
And-
you get something like that, your ability to buy in quantity would
Yeah,
help you
Absolutely.
out.
because
Having
as
not
it is
to
now,
order-
I order caseloads of 3, and I don't get the discounts because I don't buy big enough quantities.
That's the other thing, you go to American Surplus and get some used pallet racks, put the pallet racks inside the building, and you can organize your storage and everything. That's what 3/4 of my shop storage is, pallet racks, because used ones. They're cheap, all you gotta do is go pick them up.
Like golf cart and repair.
We're talking about who's gonna do this. And I think it's Dana's responsibility to do it.
To come up with the quotes.
Right.
Yeah, okay. You don't have,
I
nothing,
don't have a
right?
problem with that.
There's quite a few online.
I mean, you can find them anywhere.
Well, Steve knows. Steve could probably-
I got a
Between the two of
couple
you
of
guys,
Writing
I think, between the two of you, you could.
I have
come up with
a,
You might be able to get buy one, get one at 20% off.
well, I have a, I'm not gonna mention any names, but I have a contact in the steel building business.
Okay, well, look into it.
Figure out the right size that we would need for storage and get a quote on that, because we can knock that out this winter if it's feasible.
Well, something, well, we get a few extra dollars.
Exactly. Golf cart repair, Dana?
We had approximately 8 carts down. We called Club Car. They came a day later, 24 hours. They were back in service, and we used them that weekend. The response we're receiving on the calls are pretty good. We haven't had any times yet where we've called and they haven't come and serviced the carts. So at this point, it seems to be a successful decision.
Let's move down to the next
Had enough of this?
6:10. The only other thing I would, if we're gonna skip down a little bit, which says Fall Town Meeting, November 6th, September 12th article, so is that if we wanted an article that we could do by September 12th?
Yeah, a while back, we talked about having about 180,000 left.
Yeah.
We got that 27,000 for National Golf Foundation.
Yeah.
And the question is, at a couple meetings back, we had a motion to have Steve and Dana propose what we should be spending, how much of that should we be spending, and what that cost is gonna be, and whether we need to put another article for more funding. But it's September 16th, September 12th deadline, so things are tight.
Except for, at least for the submission of the article, we don't need like exact article. We need like examples of types of article. If we want like car path repair, bunker repair,
Right.
Well, I
infrastructure,
think we take the verbiage from the previous article
Right. Just
and,
do what
attach
they
the
said.
dollar amount. I mean, I have
We discussed it.
we have a list here, which is quite substantial, in terms of, or it could run into, being quite substantial in terms of cost. You're looking at, the whole 8th and 9th cart path. You're looking at the parking lot redesign and paving. And along with that, I would like to include I'd like to include the paving around the maintenance building because it's falling apart. I'd also like to include fencing to isolate our facility from the parking lot because now people cut through in front, 15 to 20 feet away from where my guys are putting equipment away or loading a
They're
cart or
using that part of the
something.
parking lot now.
Yeah, and they get, the safety aspect of that is really unfunctionable. And the other thing we have to consider, which I don't think is a significant deal, is reworking or redesign the drainage system. I mean, you have a catch basin drainage system which would work perfectly well. Dan and I already looked at it by leveling the parking lot and optimizing our parking spaces. And you don't really need those grass swales because all those grass swales do is they have a drain in them that leads to the detention basin. So you can put on any given street in town or any new development has drains which go to catch basins which are directly there in the street.
Mhm.
And the water, the street is designed to shoot the water towards the catch basin, and it goes to, or the drain, it goes to the detention basin. In here, I've included the proposition for additional equipment storage building. Fact of the matter is, we're out of space. And to be quite honest with you, we don't, if we're going, again, if we're talking to people about how we can, where we're going to go in the future and how we're going to do this, we really need to have, at least from my end of things, we need to have a professional maintenance facility. We need to have a professional working shop. I mean, we have to move everything out of the shop so Norm can work on something. And, and you're 9 times out of 10, you're tripping over something. We have no place to store parts.
Right.
We store parts on bread carts that Rich Gallipo was able to procure for us from Sunbeam when they went out of business. I mean, the things are 50 years old. We roll them around the building.
If I happen to come up for ice at the wrong time,
We gotta move all the equipment away and
You gotta
back
open up
away
the
from the
garage
ice machine
and take
so we
all
can
the
get into
equipment
the
out.
ice machine. So my proposal to that is, back in the back right-hand corner where we currently have 2 storage containers, which we would continue to use, is we construct a steel building back there. Right now, my estimate is 70 feet by 50 feet with 2 overhead doors, electricity and the alarm system, and that's it. And I think we could put that up ourselves. We put a base on that floor, or we could get assistance in putting it up. Basically, all you need to do is lift the top part of it up. But then we can put all the equipment that is stored in the maintenance shop side of things in that building, along with attachments such as a sweeper, such as an aerator, such as the turf tidy, the rest of those machines. Put them over there. Put all of our equipment in the cold storage side of the building, and then we can, through our own expertise and pallet racks and other things, redesign our shop side so we have parts access. We don't have to move things out, and we can have waste oil storage, and we can have other things that we currently don't have and have to push out of the irrigation room and push into the irrigation room until we need to use it, and then pull it out and drag it across the shop so we can put our waste oil in it.
So my suggestion, not to cut you off, so my suggestion in thinking that I think we should move forward with putting in an article. We can copy that same language from the prior one. And so round figures, I say 180, we gotta pay for the National Golf Foundation, so call that balance 150. The year that just ended, we basically had a profit of $399,000 from the report that I got from Nick. So, I don't know, I was thinking, would we want to submit an article for $250?
250?
So if it's $250, where we just made a $399,000 profit, it's taken a little bit over half of the 1 year's profit. Take the $250 plus the $150 we'll have left, it'll give us $400,000 to just start to address these things we know we keep saying we should do, and then just actually start doing these things. Because if we don't do it now for a November approval, then we couldn't tap into anything beyond the 150 this fall, winter, spring. We're
Right.
waiting for the annual town meeting, which is in July, and we're not gonna do things in July, and it's gonna push anything we would wanna do beyond that a year. So, I mean, then I'm just one of the four of us here tonight, but my recommendation would be to submit an article for $250. I don't know if anybody wants to agree with me or not. It's fine if you don't, it's just my suggestion.
Yeah. I go that, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a motion?
I'll make a motion,
250?
250.
Second by Bob.
Secure amount.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think it's still banking 150 of what we made this past year, but it's still giving us a decent chunk if we wanna, again, whether it's storage, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's stuff for Dana, storage for Dana, if it's moving into the
Equipment.
next phase of our long-range plans to what we can be.
Refrigerators.
Huh?
I said
Yeah.
refrigerators. I mean, if
Right,
the
if we-
Coca-Cola
if we
that
need to
doesn't
go
come
that route.
through,
And
Like you said.
listen, nothing says too that we actually get to use the fridge that we have forever. I've heard some rumors that I'm not gonna have that outdoor unit next year. If that's the case, you're gonna have to either lease one or buy one.
And why?
We don't own it.
yeah, it's
We are,
not.
At least
we are,
borrowing it?
we are borrowing it. We are temporarily housing it.
Now, that particular machine, that machine sits there, it's self-contained, right? It runs off its own. What does it run? Is it electric?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I actually had
Now-
them wire in the electricity.
So how much is it?
I don't know, I'd have to get a price.
Well, thinking of that, would that be,
And I just find this out, you go like this, but
No.
I mean, I don't, how much is it? Do you know? I don't know.
in the space that's there, where that occupied, would we be able to take that space and put storage there plus refrigeration there? Do we need refrigeration inside, or where do you need it to have it put?
Well, you know, I mean,
Could you do something, I mean, you have wasted space on the back of that clubhouse, between the clubhouse and the tent. You know, just throwing out ideas, because if that thing goes, then the guy who does
That thing
work
goes,
outside's gotta
you-
huck back and forth
you
and
gotta
back.
crawl.
You're gonna buy one. That
You're
thing
gonna
goes,
have
you're
to
gonna
do
buy one.
something. You know, I mean, if you come up with that space building,
Because
you
those
might as well.
those 4 units that I'm talking about can't house everything that I have in that thing.
So it's a
Something
mobile.
like that, space building, then you know, you'd have to look into putting the ice machine out there, number one.
Take that
It's
water access.
crazy to freaking have it where it is.
I'm not sure you can pull that off.
Why?
Because it's water, it's piping. You'd have to have the,
Well, yeah, you'd have to do some
you have,
piping.
Well, just quickly, depending on where the utilities are underground, I mean,
Yeah,
we can cut a trench
There's
and
already
run a pipe. It just,
water there.
yeah, it just depends on where the faucet comes outside the building, where you put the hose. We could cut in off of that, it would take a little conniving, but you could do it if that's what somebody needed to
I
do.
do need that ATM document back, because it does have a,
The ATM
No, I don't
document.
feel great. I think it went this way.
Just go the way you want.
the ATM document.
It
has a check on it?
The check stapled to the back. It was right here. I think it's right there. It's that last one. All right, so I think we've knocked off enough for tonight. We're looking at Thursdays in September.
I'm not back until the 25th. I'm in Portugal for 3
Had a big
weeks.
good
Nice.
food pack.
And actually on the 28th, I can't do.
No, September, you have
I'll go
7,
without
14,
being-
21, and 28.
October,
October is 5, 12, 19, 25. I mean, October 5th is the first one. You'd be back by
Oh,
now?
yeah.
But actually,
He's in
I'm
Portugal.
leaving, I'm leaving, not Portugal, but I'm leaving on the September 28th, but we haven't decided which day we're coming back yet.
Uh-oh.
We could do October 12th. October 12th, maybe if we wanted all of us to,
I won't be here.
well, I won't be.
No,
So you're in September, or you have September
ain't much.
7, 14,
3, 4, 5.
29.
And that's 5 weeks. Do we do the 21st and, you know, John won't be here?
September
Oh, yeah,
21st?
you can go without me. I mean, that's,
John won't be here. We'll get him one of those,
Zoom, you can zoom in.
you can have him zoom in.
you know, up with
Some of the questions.
some winery in Lisbon.
Do we
Perfect.
want to say that for now and we can check with Manny and see?
September 21? 4:30?
September 21?
Yeah, let's go September 21 for now. We'll double check with Manny. But just so we can have a tentative date right now.
Same time, same station.
Yep. Now we just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, thank you.
Thanks.